Ukraine says Russian forces have carried out the biggest attack of the war to date. More than 700 drones and 13 missiles struck targets across Ukraine overnight, mostly in the west. It comes just ahead of a two-day conference in Italy focused on Ukraine's post-war recovery. The CBC's Anna Cunningham is tracking developments from our London bureau.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Rome just a few hours ago, and he was there a day ahead of the start of this two-day Ukraine recovery conference being held in the Italian capital. Now, he was taken from the airport straight to the Vatican, and you can see these images of him coming off the plane at Rome, and from there, as I said, going to the Vatican, where he held a private audience at the papal residence, which is called Castel Gandolfo. Now, these images released by the Vatican. And what's interesting, Alfie, is as those cameras were rolling, before that audience became private, the photographs were being taken, you can just hear Pope Leo asking the Ukrainian president, how are things going then? We are told that their meeting focused on the ongoing war in Ukraine and efforts to end hostilities and find a just and lasting solution to the war in Ukraine. The Vatican has released a statement. Let's show you some of what it says. It says, during the cordial conversation, the importance of dialogue as the preferred means of ending hostilities was reaffirmed. The Holy Father expressed his sorrow for the victims and renewed his prayers and closeness to the Ukrainian people, encouraging every effort aimed at the release of prisoners and the search for shared solutions. Now, Alfie, the Vatican also said that Pope Leo expressed his sorrow for the victims of the war and did assure the Ukrainian people of his prayers and continued closeness. And for the first time, something that had been rumoured and even suggested by the US President Donald Trump, now confirmed. The Vatican says that Pope Leo says the Vatican is willing to welcome representatives of both Ukraine and Russia to the Vatican for potential negotiations. But there is a bit of a sticking point there, because we already know that Russia has previously rejected any such idea, saying that it would not be appropriate for two Orthodox Christian countries to hold talks at the Vatican. But Zelenskyy is due to meet someone else later whilst he's in Italy. The US President Donald Trump's special envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, will be there, and there is a meeting planned between the pair. Alfie.
We certainly know that talks between the two and potential ceasefire is something that the U.S. president has been looking to try to spearhead as well. This heavy overnight attack on Ukraine, how is that playing out in terms of that goal for the U.S. president in those discussions?
Yeah, look, this was a really intensive attack overnight, largely focused on the west. More than 700 drones and 13 missiles fired on Ukraine by Russia. I think we've got some footage from Ukraine's state emergency services. You can see firefighters tackling fires there in the western city of Lusk. But we know that President Donald Trump's previously urged the Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop with the attacks. But he seems to be losing patience with him. Take a listen to what he said at the White House on Tuesday.
I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week. And I'm not happy with Putin. We get a lot of thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Some choice language there used by the US president. In terms of weapons provision by the US for Ukraine, we know Trump was reportedly caught off guard by the Pentagon's abrupt move last week to pause Ukraine weapons deliveries. He's overturned that. He's now promising to send 10 Patriot missiles to Ukraine. At the moment, Kyiv says it's waiting for confirmation on that, but it has described that number as minuscule in terms of what they need on the front lines.
The CBC's Anna Cunningham in London.